Yo, what's going on, especially with a very spicy deck? I've got this to a pretty high MMR this season. It's a lot of fun. I actually filmed a deck guide yesterday. Mike was muted, so that went out the window. But I changed the list quite a lot on ladder. We're using two very interesting cards. Sir Quan, the Tiger, and Villain Tretamurf the Dragon. So obviously I played Villain Tretamurf quite a lot in some added decks in the past. Essentially what these cards are really good for is if you're going second, you can put this card down, and then it gives you a lot of reach. So Villain Tretamurf's going to scorch the top unit on either side of the board, so you can scorch yourself. And this card here is going to boost itself by 10, so it's going to be 12 power. What you can do is you can put this card down and then pass, and the ability will still trigger, so it can give you a lot of reach in round 1. So there's definitely an argument you don't need both of these in your deck. But, you know what, I've been finding it to be kind of cute and a little bit clever. Maybe you could ditch this geese and just keep Villain Tretamurf, but I've kind of been enjoying it. You might notice that we have got 8 provisions left, and the reason for that is simple. It's either Marching Orders or it's Alzor's Double Cross. I'm leaning more towards Marching Orders at the moment because Marching Orders is going to hit Philippa / Ronvid, and then it's going to hit Cirque 1. So it's kind of decent, whereas ADC is hitting you Falibor, Villain Tretamurf, Baron, so they're both great. There is also an argument where you could potentially ditch Royal Decree and run both of these cards, but I feel like the problem with that is then like when you need that Pella, that Bomb Heaver, you're not able to Royal Decree for it. But you certainly could experiment with using Double Cross and Marching Orders, and then maybe upgrading this Reinforcements to something in like that 8 provision range. Like you could maybe go for, I don't know really, like you could go for the Dragon potentially. I do think though Reinforcements is definitely a card you do want to keep. I suppose if you were to take this route, maybe even Necromancy, because essentially what you want to do is you want to make sure you've got enough Revenants. What's been happening a lot today on ladder is I've just been like a couple of Revenants short, so Necromancy could be a really, really nice option. I think Offering is going to be a card that goes into a lot of these decks in a few days when the expansion hits. So Necromancy is pretty tempting, but I feel like for 7 provisions it might be a little bit too expensive. So what I'm going for at the moment is, well, I don't even know, it's Royal Decree, right? Because you've got your Pella when you need it, you've got your Bomb Heaver. We've got a single oil as well, so Triss is hitting either oil or Forbidden Magic. Now, we don't have any Row Punish in this deck, so I've experimented with using a few things like Surrender, Lacerate, Sabrina. I feel like Lacerate is the most logical because it gives you that Triss value, but what often happens, I find, is that Lacerate is pretty lackluster because of the Forbidden Magics. All the times we're trying to spawn Revenants with as well. So I'm certainly not completely sold on this deck. I will be posting like another updated video in a few days. Let's get into a game though. It's essentially the Ronvid's Revenant decks I have been playing, but without Draug. What that means is Voimir is a lot less valuable in this deck for sure, because it's normally 1 row of Revenants rather than 2. And Voimir is just losing so much value if you just don't have enough Revenants. So I feel like the Reinforcements is really clutch. As I say though, I am quite inclined to try out Necromancy a little bit more tomorrow and just have a play around with the provisions here and there. So definitely do look out for that if we do make any changes. We're up against Fruits, going second. Vincent's another card I've been using a little bit in this deck as well. But hopefully it'll be just interesting to see how the Tiger and how Villain does. So instantly you can see the use of Marching Orders. If this is Double Cross, it's Baron, which is great, it really is. But because I've got Philippa in hand, this is giving me Ronvid, which is just crucial, right? Being able to get Ronvid down round 1. Now, Reinforcements is pretty much around 3 card normally, so I'm going to kick that. Tan's pretty decent, really. I've got lots of low provision cards that I'm never really going to win this round, I would say. Maybe I could ditch a Royal Guard and just, we get Ronvid. So this is now playing Cirque 1, right? Which I'm probably butchering, but that's a really nice option to have on the Marching Orders. Maybe I can keep Villain for round 3. So essentially, because I'm going second, if he passes, with Cirque 1 I've got 12 points of reach, so as long as I'm 11 points or less down, if he passes I can take it with this card, because he can't reply. The timer's going to come down after my turn, it's going to be at 1, and then I pass and it boosts up to 12 points. So the reason we're using this card is because I've got so many Revenants, they normally get answered anyway. It is kind of just being a little bit cute and a little bit clever. It's pretty good. Obviously, Falibor's kind of tempting here. I think we'll just take the magic though, really, right? Why not? Got another magic to follow it up. The Neckar's very nice for our deck, to be honest, to deal with pretty comfortably. I would expect it not. I would expect him to kill this with a Strigger, or something like that. He's really got limited removal though. This is where the necromancy could come in, right, as well. Just gives you even more reference. Obviously, you've got two from Forbidden Magics. You've got 2 in your deck. You've got another Forbidden Magic through Triss. You've got 1 from Reinforcements in round 3. Because normally you'll use that on your Henselted one. Because like, let's say this gets killed, I can't Reinforcements this, right? But because I'm going to Henselt one or use my Mobilization in round 3, there's always going to be like 1 Revenant left over, if you like. I'm not sure how aggressive we want to get here. It's normally really difficult to win these rounds against monsters. Obviously, I could commit Falibor, but I feel like that would be a bit of a mistake. Then again, I do know I've got 12 points on the reset, and if I'm taking the Falibor, it's pretty much should be now. I don't think we go for it, to be honest. I don't think it's worth it. I can always just use this next round as well. A lot of the time, these fruits decks just never pass, so I'm just going to play my Mauler down here. Hopefully this sticks. Essentially, round 1, we don't really need to commit too much, right? And Vinatret Mirth is going to be always pretty damn good in a short round 3 anyway against monsters. Obviously, we're going to get Ronvid down. We might play the Royal Guard. Potentially, if he plays the Beast, I might consider using my Oil, because that's a pretty good target. This is where Vincent would come in clutch as well, right? Obviously, I can deal with this pretty comfortably, though, so it does look like I should be able to win this round, I would say. We shall see, though. Just play Ronvid for the time being. Don't really need to do anything too extravagant. We're pretty much in cruise control. I could have, of course, used the Revenant Charge and a Thunder and killed this. Just play it slow for the moment. Get Ronvid down. Take it nice and easy. We know we've got an awful lot of reach with some of these cards I've got here. I'm pretty sure he won't actually be able to answer this card either. Like, these decks have very limited removal. This is probably on Living Armor. Unfortunately, I still don't have a way of spawning a Revenant, apart from with Philippa. I'm just going to take the Thunderman, I think, to be honest. Very tempting. How much reach have I got? Well, this is 12 reach. I could just go for this now. I'm honestly not convinced he can actually answer this. Philippa's pretty tempting, man. I don't know. How much does winning this round really do for me? Not that much, I would say. So I know with this I've got 6, 19, 21 points of reach. Just try this, man. Let's see what happens. I don't think he can answer this. These decks have very low removal. Obviously, he might answer it, but then I'll just pass. It's not the end of the world. We're floating an idea out there. Removal he sinks into this card is just one less thing he can remove revs with next round. I don't think he's got the answer, though. These fruits decks are very low on removal. Strigger being probably their main source of removal. Normally, they're not going to run the natural selections because it doesn't boost Thrive. Maybe a Protofelder, but again, if he's going to play Protofelder, I've not really committed very much in round 1 here. Obviously, I've floated this out, but worth a try, right? This is one of a weird one, whereas I've got so much reach by killing the Yagurn. Obviously, Villain Tretamurph kills this as well, but I could just rip through this with an Oil. But it doesn't look like he can answer it. I'm still not exactly sure my line of play. I think I will sink a Thunder in here, even though Thunder here is really good as well. I could always Philippa. But this just gives me more wands to work with, right? Like, I could Mauler plus Philippa and it kills it anyway. I don't know. We're pretty much in cruise control. Sinking the Oil into that maybe. Could have done something better, but it seems kind of too good not to, right? Not sure exactly what this will be. But I can also just take Yagurn out with Mauler, Ballista plus Revenant here. So I can just put a Royal Guard down, right? And we actually managed to keep all our golds here. So an interesting first round. You can see obviously the value of this card if left unanswered. Normally you're going to use this after they pass. And we get to keep Villain Treachermirth as well. It's obviously a great hand to go into round 3 with. Super risky card, of course, Sir Khan, but normally you wouldn't play him in that situation until your opponent passes, thinking they're safe. So in terms of round 3, we want one Revenant in hand so I can hench out the other. Obviously we managed to get Ronvid down, but we can mulligan quite aggressively here. I'm going to keep the Pella in hand because it's kind of like a free mulligan next round. We just don't want to hit the Revenant. We've obviously are definitely looking for Baron because we've got Last Say, which gives us Ozeril for free. Obviously we'd love Triss as well for that Forbidden Magic most likely, or potentially a Boiling Oil to deal with the Beast. Pretty sure he's got Living Armor based off the Troubadour play. Wow, he plays the Beast here. He must have a very, very good hand. Ranthia, Living Armor, potentially Renew. Not sure. He obviously mattered for something. Maybe he's got Haunt actually. Haunt could be a very real possibility with the play he had on Granthia. Sorry, on whatever it's called. Can't even think. Matter. I just got a random follow from Ice Chicken. I'm not even streaming, I'm just live, so thanks Ice Chicken 1337 if you're watching. Okay, I think we stop here. This is Triss or it's a Bomb Heaver. We don't find the reinforcements, which is really nice in round 3. If your Revenants gets answered, that reinforcements can just be all you need to fill up a whole row. Like if they're low on removal, they might just about get away with dealing with your Revenants. Wow, he's playing more Neckers, poor lad. We're just going to hench out straight away here, right? Normally, of course, this would just be on your Ronvid. Be good to come down. Pretty sure I'll just Triss next turn as well, or Forbidden Magic for another Revenant. I don't think I need Bomb Heaver in this one. Doesn't really achieve that much anyway because it plays 2 consume cards, and it also plays the card which plays lots of rats, which just gives me more Revenant value. I do think the reinforcements is really important in this deck. I was playing it a little bit earlier without. I was using Vincent in that slot, and there's just some matchups where that reinforcements is so clutch in round 3. As I say, decks have limited removal, right? It's only like Syndicate where they can just spam loads of removal down in your head. And if they run out of removal, sometimes it just is that one more Revenant you need that can clutch up. So we want it to land in the front row. Oh, look at that. So we're in cruise control here, man. No Draug necessary, right? We've got 3 Revenants down on the board. Of course, if I had reinforcements, we could get 4 Revenants down, which just means we're pretty much, you know, my opponent's not going to be able to deal with what I'm doing. We've got the Falibor here. I'm not going to bother killing this. Just hit the 2 there. And you can see, look, we're just going to spiral out of control now, right? Our opponent's not got a chance. Obviously, low removal in this Monsters deck. Against other decks where they've got cards like Philippa, Falibor, it is a lot more of a struggle without Draug, which I think is why Reinforcements is so good. And potentially, as I did mention, Necromancy as well. Obviously, Voimir is going to stand for tons of points here soon. And we're normally pretty good going first as well, because we use the sword. So even though we went second in this matchup, we're pretty good going second because of Sir Khan and because of Villain Treachermirth. I feel pretty confident going first with Forbidden Magics and the sword. Definitely though, this card can be super awkward. Like if you do go first, like this card's super awkward. Sometimes you just might be better mulliganing it. I've had a few times where it's fully bricked. So do watch out for that. Obviously, I've actually got a handful of soldiers. There's not that many soldiers in this deck. Fortunately, I seem to have got them all in my hand round 3. Pretty much have had all of them in my hand, right? I've played the Mauler, the Royal Guards, and the Revenants. They're your soldiers, as well as Baron and Voimir. But that's where Reinforcements does come in as well. It is another soldier in 90% of situations. And sometimes it can be surprisingly useful to use Reinforcements on a Ballista. Obviously, want to be careful of overfilling here. At the moment, I've got 3, 6, 7 cards in the back. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cards to play. So I probably should stop spawning Revenants in at this point. Philippa is just like a free kill though as well. So you want to play Villain Tretmouth as your second to last and probably Baron as last. So let's fill up here. I'm going to kill her, I think. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 3 slots at the front, 1 slot at the back. So we can still spawn another Rev. Of course, Ronvid's going to come down as well. We'd rather have a 3 strength Rev than Ronvid as one of our cards. So we're going to finally, hopefully, kill Ronvid by overfilling. Like I say, this is obviously quite an unfair representation because we're playing against someone with such little removal. But, you know, you can still see why the deck's so damn good, right? I'm trying to work out if I can do this. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seven, 8, 9, right? Oh, but Ronvid's... Yeah, I can just kill Ronvid with this one. It's fine. I'll just sacrifice Ronvid, essentially, to make room for Baron. Lastly. I just waste a point, basically. You live. There we go. Obviously, Visagard, you could see, could be nuts, but normally you don't have that many Revenants. Let's get into another game. Very unfair representation of the deck, to be fair, but you can see the beauty of it, right? Hopefully we can go first this time, because you'll see a different take on it. So, cards like Serquan and Villain Tretmouth, so nice when you're going second, if you've got access to them. But really, particularly Serquan, very tricky if you end up going first, like when you ever put him down. Especially because with Villain Tretmouth and Serquan, if you've got those both going into round 3, you need to play Villain Tretmouth third last, then Serquan second last, then something else. So we are going first, which is what I asked for against Greatswords. This is one of the tougher matchups. Obviously, just going first against Greatswords is never that fun. This card's super sketchy, man. Like, I don't really want it in my hand, to be completely honest. Let's kick it. No Ronvid, but I do have access to Raw Decree, which does have the potential of giving me Ronvid. Normally, you are going to take that as well, to be completely honest.
Hammer now. Ask questions later.
If I can win round 1, it means I have last say with Baron, which is normally great, right? But a lot of the times these days, Greatswords at this higher ranking aren't all in on Greatswords because of the nature of Second Wind as a leader ability. They can just be pretty obnoxious and not really play any good cards. Now, the bad news for us is he answers our Mauler with Hammond, which is really bad for us, right? Because basically he's traded up a load of points on us, essentially. Because this is essentially dead, right? In a little bit. It's not going to survive much longer. So we managed to kill the wagon. It's pretty good because it gives armor to the ship, which we're expecting to see it coming in next. This is where the sword's just super useful. This is going to die, by the way. This won't stick. But the sword's so useful because it just threatens his side of the board a lot more. Wow! I was expecting this to die straight away. And this again is where the ballistas can just come in beautifully, accompanying the sword. You can see the value of them straight away there. I'm very surprised this survived and didn't get stunning blowed though. Also, another thing you can do with Villain Tretmouth is if you're going second, obviously your opponent plays a TA. You can often lead with Villain Tretmouth against Scoia'tael, for example, and a Hawker, because they don't really have a way of dealing 6 damage. Obviously against Skellige, monsters, they've got more traditional ways of dealing 6 damage in one turn. But it's definitely something you can do if your opponent leads in with that greedy TA. Because I don't have any movement in this deck, it is a nice option to have. You can see again here though, like a reinforcements could be really... he got so greedy, man. He should have not let this stick. I'm not really sure what my next line of play is. I would like to get Ronvid down, but equally I'm not convinced I'm really winning this round. So obviously the unwritten rule against Greatswords is never pass, right? Never pass. Sure if we should take that advice though. Like, if I'm putting Romvid down, it's kind of... Let's just put Romvid down. Sod it, man. Sod it, mate. Let's not overthink. Let's just put Romvid down. And then at least if I pass and he bleeds me, I'm in a much better position. I don't even think Last Say Baron is that important anymore. Because what a lot of Greatsword decks do, if you do have Last Say against Northern Realms, they just won't play a Greatsword particularly tall. They'll use their leader ability on something else. And he's not managed to get Crow Mother down yet either, which is great news for us for sure.
Kill, maim, destroy.
All my cards here are pretty good in future rounds. I don't feel particularly comfortable passing, though. It could be a Geddy deck. Problem is, his ship is just going to wreck me, though, right? I mean, I guess it's not doing that much. This is a card I definitely want to keep. I don't completely hate using Villain Tretamurth this round because it probably just gets answered by Decoction.
My studies are more important than this.
Guess we'll float Sheila out there. I've obviously got the oil for anything he puts down to just stall a bit. It's a tough one, man. Going first against Greatswords is never fun at the best of times. This is where you could just do with like normal Revenants, maybe some Raw Guards. I feel like I'm kind of forced into passing here, man. I really don't like it, but maybe I back row Baron as a bit of a stalling play. I don't know, man. I don't like where this has gone. It's such a tough matchup. I've got Villain Tretamurth. That's what gives me the luxury of putting Baron down. As long as I get his Decoction out, like he can't answer it. Especially because I could Royal Guard and buff it up. He Morkvargs me. On poor old Romvid. What did he ever do to you, huh? As you can see, my reset is just doing absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. Guess we're using this, which is a really good card normally in this matchup. Obviously that was also my biggest reset, so that was kind of dumb. Definitely an argument I could have taken a pass sooner when his graveyard wasn't very developed, but we're still here. So it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, did not play this well at all, man. Losing on even. Probably gonna end the video there. You can see the advantages, disadvantages of this deck straight away, right? I mean, okay, we didn't lose on even. That's something. So I'll keep going, man. I'll keep going. I'm just not happy with how I played it, to be honest. That's my main gripe here. And there's an example of where Villain Tretamurth can, and Serquan can be pretty terrible, right? Billy T does make me feel like a little bit worse about putting Baron down, but overall my plays were pretty pants, let's be completely honest and clear. Last say against Greatswords equals loss. But you could just argue I just didn't have enough gold power in my hand round one. I played a ton of bronzes. Obviously I did give up my Baron and Voimir, which unfortunately are two very important cards in this matchup. So we'll see what we can do round 3. I feel like without Voimir, we're kind of stuffed. We almost lost an even, but at least we didn't. He got Crow Mother down. He's got Morkvarg in his graveyard, but probably the Greatsword is the bigger concern, really. Maybe he gets a bit greedy and walks into my villain, Tretamurth. We'll see. I mean, we've got Serquan. We'll see how good that really is. Probably not very good. And we'll stop there because I don't want to hit Bomb Heaver, etc. As you can see, the Marching Orders has got really good targets in this deck. with Cirque 1 being there. Also Philippa, Ronvid. It's a bit awkward having Philippa slash Ronvid. But you'll find normally it probably is worth it in the long run. ADC, maybe I should have gone in opposite rows. ADC is also great, man. I imagine at least one of these is going to die anyway, so it doesn't really matter if I put them on the same row or not. Of course, if I had last say here, I'd be feeling super damn confident, right? Surprised he doesn't take one of these out, and it's a bit bleed on here.
Fall overboard and I'm not jumping in after you.
So far, we're looking okay. I can obviously answer whatever he puts down here with a Philippa. This is like just points for Morkvarg as well is the problem. Fallible pretty much has to be my last say. You can see where this card and this card are pretty damn awkward. You need to play villain before this. So basically I need to go Philippa or Fallible. Oh, Philippa here. Villain, Cirque 1 and Fallible. Because this has to be your second, they have to be your second last play, right? Yeah, let's do that. Keep ourselves protected. I mean, there's not even a guarantee that this goes off right in my favour. He could play around it, and this will get scorched. Probably means I shouldn't have used this. You can see instantly the awkwardness, right, of this card and this card in the same deck.
We serve her who is virgin, mother, and crone.
Surprisingly, though, he gives us a chance. We just win the 50-50, whatever it is. It's more than that. But it needs to kill this, otherwise Cirque 1's dead as well, right? Oh, it's not good. It kills the Crow Mother, which doesn't really do much for us. This is dead anyway to this now. So there you go. In 2 games, the pluses and the negatives of this deck. I think this card maybe is just one meme too far. I do quite like it though. Maybe you could even, I don't know. Villain Treamer's obviously just not as vulnerable as Cirque 1 is. But to be fair, he was just going to get Morkvarged anyway, right? So, whatever. He does manage to get the Greatsword down, and he's going to be the ship. Which is just going to wreck me. Oh, it's Heimdall.
The time has come. Baron.
Unfortunately, Ronvid lands in the wrong row. I think it's actually better to just kill this. But obviously boat I just lose to. This is where Voimir comes in as well, because it just keeps you pretty well protected against this. We weren't a million miles away, right? We weren't a million miles away. I think probably just didn't draw well enough round 1. It's a tough matchup, man. So yeah, that's the deck. In a couple of games you see the good side and the bad side of it as well. Definitely Cirque 1 not terrible, but pretty memey. But I really don't hate it either. I think this deck's pretty damn good though. I would recommend you giving it a go. It's a lot of fun, if nothing else, right? And it's certainly a very viable way to play Northern Realms. If you're looking for the most competitive deck, I would definitely stick to Uprising Draug. But if you're looking to have a little bit of fun like me while still winning a lot of games, climbing the ladder, have a go with this. Like I say, maybe ditch this card. It has been a little bit. It's not, it's not the most serious card in the world, right? If you're looking to build the most competitive deck, you wouldn't use this, but it can be really good. I think maybe it's just a little bit too similar to Villain Treamer though. But yeah. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to keep this card for a little while and see what I can do with it on ladder a bit later on. I hope you enjoyed the video. Probably be another deck guide on this in a few days if I do make any more changes. I would imagine it looks something pretty similar to this though, right? Nice one.